Hey guys. All right, so we're going to talk about writing equations for lines, parallel and perpendicular. This one is how to write the equation of a line perpendicular to a given line that passes through a certain point. So on the test, you're going to have questions like this, and you're just going to look at it and figure out what they're asking. And then you're going to determine what you need to do based on what they're asking. So on this one, they're asking us to write an equation. They don't tell us what form it needs to be in, but since this one is in point slope form, slope intercept form, I'm assuming that our answer is probably also going to be in slope intercept form. And all of these on the test are multiple choice, so you'll have to choose the correct answer. So if your answer is in a different form, you just need to put it into the correct form of the answer, of the whatever the A, B, C, and D answers are. All right, so here we go. Let's write an equation. All right, so first of all, we notice that it says perpendicular lines, and we know the slopes of perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals. So this equation right here, I'm just going to rewrite it, y equals 5x plus 3. It's already written in a form where we can easily see what the slope is. The slope, y equals mx plus b, is the form. The slope is m, so the slope on this one is 5. So we already know that the slope of this equation is 5. Perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal. So we know that our opposite reciprocal of 5, our new slope has to be -1/5 because we have to have the reciprocal and then we put in the opposite. That's a 5. Okay, -1/5. So what we're going to do is try to find our equation. We're going to go ahead and use, instead of the slope intercept form, we're going to go ahead and use, instead of the y-intercept form, we're going to use the point slope form that I was just talking about. And the point slope form, if you don't recall, is y minus y1 equals m, which is a slope, times x minus x1. And you're going to see how we plug this stuff in just a second. All right, so we're going to go ahead for the first one, and we're going to take this formula and we're going to substitute in the point that they want us to use. We're going to substitute that in for x1 and y1. So that's what this point is going to stand for, x1 and y1. So we're going to substitute, and it will, this y1 is going to be 8. So we'll have y minus 8 equals, and then we're going to put our new slope in. Here's our new slope, which is -1/5, times, and then here we're going to have our x minus, and we're going to substitute in our x up here, which was -3. And I just put it in parentheses because we want to make sure that we don't mess up those negative signs, right? So then let's go on to our next step. So if you substitute everything incorrectly, then we're just talking about solving, which is going to make it a little bit easier. So all you have to do is know when they give you a formula here for a line and they want it to pass through a certain point, we're going to use this point slope form right here. And we're going to plug in our y1, x1, and our m, our slope. Then we're just going to figure out what the answer is. So we can go ahead and change this to plus a positive. Minus a negative is the same as plus a positive. And then the first thing we're going to do is distribute this side. So I'm just going to bring down my y minus 8. And I'm going to distribute this -1/5. You have to distribute it to both this x and this 3. So you're going to end up with -1/5 x plus, then we distribute it to that 3. So we get -1/5 times 3 equals negative, and if we do it over here, -1/5 times 3 equals, you just multiply the top, right? 3/1, so you get -3/5. So we're going to put that down here. Okay, so now we have y minus 8 equals -1/5 x plus negative 3/5. You could also say minus 3/5. So if we want to then simplify it, we want to simplify it and get it back to slope-intercept form because that's what we started with up here. So once we have everything distributed, we're going to go ahead and try to simplify. So remember, we have, in order to simplify, we want it to be y equals mx plus b. And we already have right here, we already have our mx is negative 1/5 x. So all we have to do is add 8 to both sides because we want to get the 8 off of this side. So if we add 8, these cancel out and you just end up with y over here. And if we add 8 to this side, I'm going to bring down my negative 1/5 x plus, and then we're going to combine these two because they are both numbers without any kind of variable next to them. So negative 3/5 plus 8 is going to, if you want to figure it out over here, you could change 8 into fifths. So 8 is the same as 40/5, right? 8 times 5 is 40. So 40/5 plus negative 3/5 equals 37/5. If you don't know how I got that 40, remember we have 8 over 1, and we wanted to change it into something over 5. So if you remember, because we wanted the 5 to be the denominator, so if you remember how to do this, you say 1 goes into 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. Or you can just say, I'm going to multiply the bottom by 5 and the top by 5, and then you get 40 over 5. There's a couple different ways of doing it, depending on how you learned it. So regardless, we're going to end up right here with 37 over 5. So our equation right here is y equals, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to just rewrite it since I just scratched through it. So our final equation is y equals negative 1/5 x plus 37/5. Now if you're on your test and it's multiple choice and you see any answers that are not negative 1/5, the reciprocal, then you can automatically get rid of those because you want to just look for that first. And then you can go ahead and do your formula to figure out what the actual problem is going to be. So if you're not sure about how to do this, go ahead and start the video over from the beginning. Just look at it, try to figure it out yourself, and then you can slowly play through the video and follow the steps. All right, good luck.